What's up, guys? Max here with another episode of the ScuttleButt Show. Thank you, everybody who's already in the chat. It's nice to see you today. It is Thursday out here in Okinawa, Japan, so I'm getting ready for the weekend. I'm pretty excited about that myself. Let's get right off into the show with About Yesterday. So, About Yesterday, what did something happen yesterday? Oh, yeah. 1,000 subscribers, and now we're at like 1016 or something like that, so I really appreciate you guys. It was funny, I posted the moment I got 1,000 subs onto YouTube as its own little video, and it got like 2 thumbs down, like the most thumbs down I've gotten on a video in a long time. So haters are gonna hate. Bring it on. Maybe this is the start of my YouTube beef that I've been looking for. Maybe somebody's gonna be like, he doesn't deserve 1,000. Let's start a beef. Let's have a YouTube beef. I don't know. Bring it on. I feel like I'm somebody now. That's how it feels, Justin. I feel like I'm somebody now. No, I'm just kidding. It's great. I'm honored. I'm humbled is what it is. I appreciate you guys and all the support, and I'm going to keep doing my best to make this a great show for everybody. So I applied for the YouTube partner program yesterday, and we'll see how that goes. It takes like maybe a week or 2 to get approved for that. After that, I'll start having all the benefits of reaching the 1,000 subs, so we can do you might see ads in the videos at that point. Hopefully I can do polls and do like viewer polls into YouTube and unlock a bunch of other cool features. So with that being said, today is just a regular episode, and we have an insane episode. There's so much stuff to cover. We've got an update on that missing person in Yokota, Japan. We've got a Navy SEAL, a very prominent Navy SEAL, is writing a new book, and we're going to check that out. We've got the Marines getting some new gear, and we're going to talk about that. We've got a death up at the Navy SEAL base in Kodiak, Alaska, which is crazy, and so much more to get to as well. We've even got some deviants out here in Okinawa that we got to talk about. When something happens in Okinawa, I love bringing it up. So thanks, Ghost Rider. Thanks, Chris and Ugly Duckly and JoJo and everybody in the chat. I appreciate you guys being here. It's just a matter of time for those things to get approved. I want to get right into the first story because we have like 20 stories, maybe like 10. We have like 10 stories to get through. I don't want to double the numbers, inflate my numbers here. Let's get right into it. Let's go with our first story of the day, which is unfortunately, that missing person in Yokota, Japan we've been covering was found dead, and it's a little mysterious. So, the body of the missing Yokota spouse found in his own building 16 days after his disappearance. So we've been covering this story since the day he went missing, just after New Year's of this year. He went missing. They found his jacket, his wallet, his keys in another building, and then they searched everywhere far and wide. They were searching the yards and sheds of people all throughout Japan, and they ended up finding his body in his own building. The body of a U.S. civilian reported missing. He was a Dodea school teacher more than 2 weeks ago, was discovered Tuesday in the housing tower where he and his wife lived in Yokota. That's according to the Air Force. So he was a Dodea computer programmer and analyst, disappeared suddenly February 1st, prompting a search of the base from the ground and air. His face appeared on flyers, fading now, posted everywhere in Yokota, the headquarters of Western Tokyo for U.S. Forces Japan. His body was found in the East Side housing area around 11 a.m. Tuesday, according to a statement on the base website Wednesday. Belint, a former substitute teacher at the Department of Defense schools, was pronounced dead at the scene by medical personnel, according to the base. So then there's a statement from the Colonel, Andrew Campbell, that he's saddened by the events, but they are very, very suspicious. Isn't that suspicious? That his clothing and keys were found in one location and then his body found in his own building. So the investigation into his death is open and ongoing, pending a medical examiner's official determination of cause and manner of death, according to the statement. Belint's wife, Brittany, reported his disappearance after his wallet, cell phone, jacket, and keys were found near their base apartment. Brittany's mother, Denise Mott of Ohio, told Stars and Stripes that efforts to find her son-in-law fell short. They assured my daughter that all buildings and storage units had been searched, said Mott, who arrived in Yokota on Friday. To be found in his own building 16 days after his disappearance is severely troubling. I've got so many questions, though. I guess what we really need to know is the cause of death. Was foul play involved? Was this an issue of getting wasted, drunk, and falling down the stairs? Was this a suicide? Or was this some kind of murder or an accident, manslaughter type situation? Congressman Tim Ryan from Ohio, who phoned Campbell to discuss the case last week, said he was devastated by hearing of Brittany's death. I know that Trevor's family still has many unanswered questions, and I will do everything I can to ensure that they are provided as much information as possible to get the answers they need. I will remain in close contact with military leadership at Yokota Air Base and Ballant family and will assist in any way necessary in the days ahead. Ballant's death is the second reported in Yokota this month, and investigation remains open into the February 9th death of Kayla Ash. So let's go right into our next story. And it's interesting here that they end this with, however, the two deaths are not connected and coronavirus is not considered a factor. Yeah, obviously. So let's go right to the next story, though, because the next story is Yokota names Air Force spouse who died last week, and this is Kayla Ash. Kayla Ash, also Yokota. So, speculate all you want. Two spouses go missing and then die within days of each other. They say it's not connected, but it's suspicious to me. The military has identified an Air Force spouse who died last week at the home of U.S. Forces Japan in Western Tokyo. Kayla Ash, the wife of 374th Logistics Readiness Squadron member, was pronounced dead February 9th. The investigation remains open and ongoing, pending medical examiner's official determination of cause and manner of death. The squadron's commander, Lieutenant Colonel Tyson Daw, expressed his heartfelt condolences and deepest sympathies to Ash's family and friends. So they don't have any, and this again says that this is not connected to the Mr. Ballant, who was found dead, Trevor Ballant. So what is most suspicious to me is that they would have these two deaths, and they happen within days of each other at Yokota Air Base, and they're both mysterious, and they're both without a cause of death. The only question that I really think is important to answer, and maybe by omission they've answered it, is there a threat to the members at Yokota Air Base? Should the people on Yokota Air Base be concerned that two spouses have died recently? Is there something going on? Is there potentially a killer on the loose? I guess we'll find out more information as it comes out. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. What do you guys think about that? Does it trigger any suspicion to you that these two deaths would happen within days of each other and that these people would be found after going missing on Yokota Air Base? Is that, and then especially in the case of Trevor Ballant, whose keys, wallet, and jacket were found at another location from his body? Does that strike you guys as suspicious at all? I'd like to hear what you think in the comments down below. Just a reminder, as always, great ways to support the channel are links in the description down below for Patreon. Become an elite patron. Get a free t-shirt in your second month. I know some listeners out there have already gotten their free t-shirts and they're rocking them. I hope that they're comfortable and they fit well. You can donate to the channel with the donation link down there. You can go buy merch from ScuttleButtShow.com. And one of the greatest ways to support the channel right now is to just share this video and invite people to come watch the chat. And engage with me in the comments and let me know what you think about the content here and what you want to see more of and what you want to see less of. I would love to know. Let's see. Careful, Max. You're a military spouse. That's a great point. I am a military spouse, but luckily I'm isolated down here in Okinawa and not at Yokota. So if I do find myself getting cornered out here on Kadena Air Force Base, something like that, I'll just, run, hide, fight, right? So let's see. Big story. This is potentially a big story. Justin says, was he naked when found, or did that other set just get placed? He was not naked when he was found. That's what they're saying, is that they just found his jacket, which was suspicious because it was cold. So from covering the stories earlier, he wasn't naked, but he was without his jacket, wallet, and keys. So it was a cold night. New Year's in Yokota, it's cold. So he went out New Year's, was never seen again, and they found his jacket, keys, and wallet at another location. So there's breaking news that we covered, and we covered this a lot last year. About a year ago, it was about a year ago when the grumbling started of a COVID outbreak on board the USS Theodore Roosevelt. And we all know what happened there. Captain Crozier, commander of the USS Theodore Roosevelt, relieved of duty. He was kicked off the ship. They were chanting his name as he left. Then the Secretary of the Navy gets fired for calling him stupid, which was a pretty stupid move if you ask me. So then the Secretary of the Navy gets fired over this, and what do we have now? What do we have to talk about now? None other than the Theodore Roosevelt has a COVID outbreak again. The Theodore Roosevelt is back on deployment with another COVID outbreak, and they ended up losing one of their sailors last time. Chief Thacker, I believe was his name, died in port, potentially related to COVID. I don't think that they ever declared that officially. Correct me if I'm wrong. But 3 sailors have COVID on U.S. Navy ship that saw outbreak last year. This is from KFDM, so from the Washington News. 3 sailors aboard USS Theodore Roosevelt have tested positive for COVID-19, the Navy said Monday. Less than a year after a massive outbreak on the ship sidelined it in Guam for nearly 2 months. And then there was this whole Guam fiasco with sailors in Guam getting treated for COVID, getting tested for COVID. They were sneaking around a base, spreading COVID. It became the biggest PR fiasco that the Navy had seen in months. I mean, now the Navy's in hot water every week, it seems like. But this was the biggest one that they had had in months. It was the biggest one that they've had in a few years that resulted in ultimately the Secretary of the Navy getting fired. And that's just a follow-up from the disaster that was the Eddie Gallagher trial a few months before that. The Navy said that the 3 sailors have not had any symptoms, and they and others who were exposed to them are currently isolated on the aircraft carrier. If you were on an aircraft carrier, unless you're like a nuke, even then, if anyone on the aircraft carrier gets it, everyone's been exposed to it. The aircraft carrier is big, but it is close quarters. You could be on an aircraft carrier. It is huge, but you're never that far away from anybody else. You're sleeping 2 inches away from your shipmate there. You're walking down the same P-ways. You're sliding down those ladder wells with your hands on the railing, no feet, just like everybody else. You're going through that galley line just like everybody else. Yoking doors just like everybody else. Dogging down doors just like everybody else. Breathing the same air, going into the gym. So everyone's saying, why does the Navy have to wear masks on the ship? Well, this is it right here. We got COVID. The ship's on deployment. The Roosevelt's on deployment, and they got COVID again. The Navy said it's following an aggressive mitigation strategy, including masks, social distancing, and proper hand. The ship's just not going to be able to function like this. The outbreak on the ship last year was the largest the military has seen so far, with more than 1,000 sailors testing positive. 1 sailor died. Eventually, all of the 4,800 crew members were sent ashore in Guam for weeks. It was like months, actually, of quarantine in a systematic progression that kept enough sailors on the ship to keep it secure and running. The what's that called when you have the fewest number of people possible on a ship? What do they call that? The skeleton crew? Skeleton crew on a ship. So the failure of the ship's leaders to handle the outbreak exploded into one of the biggest military leadership crises in recent years. The ship's captain, who released that letter pleading for help, was fired. The 1-star admiral on the ship, his promotion delayed. Admiral Mike Gilday, the chief of naval operations, concluded that both the captain and the admiral made errors in judgment when they released their big over 100-page report. The carrier returned to duty about 3 months after it docked in Guam and then returned home to the West Coast. Other ships that have been underway at their home ports for the past year have had smaller numbers of sailors test positive, including even after the Bonham Richard fire. Sailors tested positive from fighting that fire, from sharing gear, it sounded like. So the Roosevelt has been on deployment in the Pacific in recent weeks, and about a week ago conducted dual carrier exercises with the USS Nimitz, which is returning home in the West Coast from a lengthy deployment in the Middle East. So to all my shipmates and battle buddies on the Theodore Roosevelt right now, I hope you guys are well and safe, and I hope you can prevent that COVID outbreak. You got to really treat it like a fire. You got to treat a COVID outbreak like a fire on the ship at this point, because if that thing gets out of control, it's going to sideline the aircraft carrier for months and months and months, and that's a no-go. You can't be rolling like that, because that ship needs to be out there providing air support. Rough stuff. So what do you guys think is going to happen with the Theodore Roosevelt? Are they about to get sent into port again, hospitalized? Is it even possible to contain it to 3 sailors? Do you think it's even possible to contain a COVID outbreak on an aircraft carrier to 3 sailors? I wonder how many people on the Theodore Roosevelt have been vaccinated, because deploying service members were at the top of the list for vaccines. So maybe a lot of them have been vaccinated. I don't know. What's going to happen? What do you guys think is going to happen? The chat's been blowing up. Let's see. Larry says, a friend re-enlisted and his next duty station was Yokosuka, Japan. His young wife became depressed being away from home and him being out to sea a lot. She went home and they divorced. It's very stressful being far from home. Depression and stress can have terrible consequences. Yep. That's very true, Larry. There is a lot of stuff like that, especially with spouses, especially in the last year with spouses and COVID, where people have been locked in their houses basically doing nothing for a year. If you're a military spouse, you're maybe at home taking care of a kid. You've been out here in a faraway land, not able to do anything, not able to socialize for months and months and months. Even myself, I'm a social butterfly, you guys. I'm a social butterfly. I got to spread my wings. And I'm mostly alone in my house. This is probably the most social activity that I do every day, is this show with you guys. So thank goodness that I have it, because it's keeping me sane, really, chatting with you guys in the chat. So Dave says, very true. I agree. Vin agrees. Vin says, yeah, skeleton crew. Yep. Vin says, I'd hate to work a skeleton crew. You got to do it sometimes. The Bean says, as long as they have their battle buddies, they'll be fine. I hope so, but when they're quarantined, they're probably quarantining with just the other sick people. So what if they all hate each other? What if the only people who got COVID hate each other's guts, and now they have to quarantine in one little berthing for weeks? Vin says, I'm not getting a vaccination. You should probably get it. I'm going to get mine. I'm telling you guys right now, just to be clear, I'm getting my vaccination. Totally getting it. 100%. Not worried about it at all. Larry says, going through a yard period is the worst. Going through a yard period is interesting stuff. Larry, when did you go through a yard period? So, Dave, what's up? Welcome to the chat. So, there's so many stories today, you guys. There's so many. And we have videos. We're going to watch videos today, too. But we have a couple things to talk about in the world of Navy SEALs, as we almost always do. We actually have a couple Navy SEAL stories. The first one's kind of a fun one, but the second one is kind of serious, and I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what you guys think about the second one. But the first one's kind of fun stuff. You guys know what Admiral Mcraven is, right? Admiral Bill McRaven, 4-star Admiral of the Navy SEALs, very famous Make Your Bed speech, widely revered as one of the greatest Navy SEAL leaders in modern history. He oversaw the Bin Laden raid at Dev Group, and he is just an all-around, widely respected, highly looked up to guy who made big waves after that Make Your Bed speech, and that started being something people were listening to every morning, set to some epic music, maybe a couple scenes from Rocky IV in there to get motivated for the gym. You guys know what I'm talking about. You guys know those motivation videos. It goes Arnold, Rocky, Bill McRaven to the gym. You guys know what I'm talking about. So now he has decided to go the way of Jocko, and write a children's book. I'm going to have to pre-order it, I guess, and review it on the show. SEAL who oversaw Bin Laden raid pens children's book, Skipper the SEAL. Skipper the SEAL. Navy SEAL memoirs have reached every person on the planet. The Trident-fueled evangelism that spared no corner of the globe in its pursuit of educating people on the wondrous existence of frogmen has, at long last, reached its grand conclusion. This is from Military Times. Its grand conclusion. Films, documentaries, TV shows, memoirs, fiction novels, podcasts, and video games have gripped the public for decades, and yet the fervent outreach was destined to come to a halt eventually due to, if no other reason, an unsustainable memoir-to-customer ratio. Oh, my gosh. That's a savage writer here. And so with the community unable to rely on Space Force to spread the good word to interstellar consumers across the cosmos, writers must adapt. Enter Skipper the SEAL. I don't want to spoil it yet. A hard-charging pinniped and the subject of retired Admiral Will McRaven's upcoming children's book, Make Your Bed with Skipper the SEAL. An adaptation of the New York Times bestseller, Make Your Bed, Little Things That Can Change Your Life and Maybe the World. It's kind of a long title. Also penned by the former SEAL and Special Operations Commander who oversaw the raid that killed Osama bin Laden. So here's a picture. A SEAL becomes a Navy SEAL in this children's adaptation of the #1 New York Times best-selling Make Your Bed, Little Things That Can Change Your Life and Maybe the World by Admiral Will McRaven. Look at this picture here. So we've got, if you're listening on the podcast, what we have here is a SEAL in enlisted dress whites. He appears to be an E1, a very junior SEAL pup. He is making his bed. He's got a porthole there. If you look out, you've got SEALs doing boat crew stuff. They're doing a little OTB. They've got a little destroyer maybe in the background there. So this is, I mean, he's got a canteen. His books are on a line. He's going to fail his room inspection. He's got an American flag, which, by the way, I learned from a viewer on my show that American flag there is the correct way because the stars are to the left of the viewer. So the viewer should be seeing the stars on the left when the flag is hung on the wall. What do I think about this? Let me compose a couple thoughts, and I want you guys to tell me what you think about it in the comments really quick. Is this good, or what is this? Is this good, or what? As Skipper the SEAL embarks on Navy SEAL training, he and his hardworking friends learn much more than how to pass a swim test or how to dive off a ship. Is this a recruiting book? To be a great SEAL, you also have to take risks, deal with failure, and persevere through tough times, just as you do in life, and always remember to make your bet. Admittedly, it's refreshing to see a SEAL applying personal experience by the way of affable Skipper to teach children indispensable life lessons, and at the very least, it signals a significant departure from the every SEAL a memoirist approach of the previously silent service. Jeez Louise. Jeez Louise. Okay, so I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Is that a good book? Would you buy that book for your kids? That's my question. Would you buy the Skipper the SEAL book for your kids? Let's see. They played it in boot camp multiple times. Vin says, what did they play? Dave says, awesome guy. Kilo, wasn't expecting that one. You're talking about the SEAL book, I hope. When are we getting the ScuttleButt Show book? Beans asks. Well, what I'm planning, the plan is I'm working it out right now, not to write a book, but to sell an audio, like basically sell an audio book, like a series of episodes of an audio book that I'll record and then self-publish on like Amazon, kind of about my life's experience, which I'll make available for elite level patrons on Patreon. But that hasn't even been started recording yet, so stay tuned for that. But that's kind of the tentative plan right now, is something like that. Would you guys be interested in that? Tell me. I'm very curious if anybody would actually be interested in that. Larry D says, twice when I first came from my ship at the end of full overhaul in Hoboken, New Jersey. Really, Hoboken, New Jersey? And then a shorter dry dock in Portsmouth Naval Shipyard in 1986. Okay, cool. So that's when you were in the yard period. The thing now, a follow-up question, Larry. When you were in the yard, were you stationed on the ship? Did you have to live on the ship at that time? Did they move you off? Because we had not a yard period, but a full overhaul of the inside of the ship once, and I was living on the ship, and we continued to live on the ship, and it was a nightmare. It was a living nightmare. Just everything about it sucked, and I could tell you, do a whole episode on what that was like. Kilo says, for the grandkids, probably that's cool. For his grandkids, for so many grandkids out there. For all the grandkids out there, he's writing the book. It is funny how these war fighters grow old and then they write children's books. There's something to be taken from that. We should learn a lesson from that. Whatever it is, we should learn it. Dave says, that's awesome. Kilo, Larry, what ship? So Larry says that he was in HT. We ran Firewatch Division and tons of welding work. Yes, welding work. It sucks when that's going on. Vin says, I love watching the ScuttleButt Show. Thank you very much. The Kalamazoo, the AOR-6. Okay, cool. Let's see. Ghost Rider, I would buy an audiobook. Thank you. Okay, great. Vin is in Portsmouth Shipyard. How nuts. The Beans, I'd be interested in that. You got that Goku in the back, so you got to be interesting. Ground Pounder, not very nautical from Kilo. Yep. So Kilo's Army, right? Kilo, your Army? Army veteran. So cool. So thank you guys for letting me know. I'm working on plans for that right now. And I will keep you updated when there's some actionable stuff out there. So speaking of the COVID vaccine, and we all know where Vin stands with that, he's not interested in it. I think I'm not going to tell you guys what to do with your life, but there is a massive amount of people right now in the military who are denying their vaccine. They are denying their vaccine, okay? So, and the word out here in Okinawa, by the way, I did not get what I'm about to say, did not come from my wife, who's a medical professional. This is the scuttlebutt around the island from Marines I've talked to, from sailors I've talked to, from airmen that I've talked to. There is a scuttlebutt going around the island. This is unverified information that a large percentage of military members out here in Okinawa are refusing the vaccine because they're afraid of some outcome like in the movie I Am Legend. And I can't even say it with a straight face. Look, here's what I'll say. All the doctors are getting it, okay? There's like no doctors not getting it. So what is everyone actually afraid of? All the people who are smarter than us, smarter than me, I'll just speak for myself. All the people out there, a lot smarter than me, are getting their vaccine. So we'll see. But the Navy's taken a further step. The Navy's taken another step. Nikki MGTV actually beat me to this story a little bit, even though, he's normally not very good at staying on top of things, but he did beat me to this one, but we're going to cover it today. I don't know if you guys saw his video, but the Navy is now incentivizing people to get the vaccine. And while the military cannot make the vaccine mandatory, and we've covered that on the show before, and I'll rehash that really quick, the military is not able to make vaccines mandatory unless they're FDA approved. So the military cannot mandate any vaccine that's not FDA approved. We've covered that on the show before. Now, how can they make it mandatory without making it mandatory? Okay, how can the government make something mandatory without making it mandatory? Well, they incentivize, right? So they incentivize or they decentivize. So it's either like you cannot get it, right? So you can refuse the COVID vaccine totally, but then you just can't re-enlist. If you're a civilian, yeah, you don't have to get the COVID vaccine, but there's an $8,000 a year tax on it. And I don't like that. I think that is garbage policy, but that's how the government is able to make things mandatory without making them mandatory, okay? So what's the Navy doing? Big Navy. Sailors will enjoy fewer COVID restrictions if they volunteer to get the vaccine. So the Navy is trying to incentivize people to get the vaccine by telling them that they will be less restricted. The U.S. Navy is rolling out less restrictive COVID-19 requirements for immunized sailors and fully vaccinated crews. You know what they're going to do? You know what they're going to freaking do? I just realized this. You know what they're going to do? They're going to fly a flag. They're going to give a pennant to every ship with a fully vaccinated crew. Mark my words. On the ScuttleButt Show, on February 17th back in the United States, mark my words, this is history in the making, the Navy will be giving a pennant for every ship with a fully vaccinated crew to fly. Mark my words. Watch, that's going to happen. So, policies that will lead to more port calls and less pre-deployment quarantines for those who volunteer for the vaccine. Sailors who opt to get one of the voluntary COVID vaccines won't have to quarantine before deployment if they receive their final dose within the past 3 months, according to updated COVID guidance sent on Tuesday by Vice Admiral Phil Sawyer, Deputy Chief of Naval Operations for Operations Plans and Strategies. Fully vaccinated crews will be able to do away with the restriction of movement or ROM. Sequesters will be able to relax health protection measures aimed at mitigating the spread of the novel coronavirus. Immunized sailors will also be able to get off the ship and enjoy expanded liberty in safe haven ports like Guam or Bahrain, and restrictions of movement or ROM periods for vaccinated units in training or readying to deploy will be eased as well. Vaccines allow a path back to something that resembles normalcy, according to the Navy. In short, fully immunized sailors will allow our Navy to begin to unwind the limitations that have been placed on our sailors at sea. The higher percentage of the crew immunized, the less risk there is to widespread outbreaks. The message also states that nearly every ship in the Navy has had at least one case on board. In the majority of those cases, aggressive early action to isolate, quarantine, contact trace, and continue strict health protection measures has contained the incidence rate on board to well less than 5%, allowing those ships to fight through and remain on mission. This is after when Ashley Figueroa was on the show, the face of the Navy's fitness program. She told us that she had just gotten back from like a 10-month deployment with only a couple port calls because they couldn't go into port because of COVID. If you've ever been in the Navy, if you've ever been a sailor, being out to sea for months on end sucks. Oh, man, it can really suck. You can get pretty tired of the people you're looking at. You can get pretty tired of the ship. All you see around you in every direction is endless ocean and sea. And if you're lucky, maybe a dolphin every once in a while. If you're lucky, maybe a beach deck picnic, steel beach picnic, and a beer day or something like that. But the COVID shutting people down for months and months and months out to sea with no ports, not good. That'll have people rushing for the vaccine. So tell me what you guys think. Do you guys think that I'm on with my prediction that the Navy's going to issue a pennant to fly for all ships that get a fully vaccinated crew to incentivize it? How else do you think the Navy's going to incentivize it? So I said financially, with restrictions of movement. So let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. I'm curious, and that's it for that story. So let me check on the chat here real quick. Regal, welcome to the chat. Refuse the flu vaccine. You know, the vaccines, I don't want to get the flu. It sucks. Totally sucks. If I can avoid getting the symptoms of the flu, I definitely want to avoid that. Seawild Earth says, so maybe they should sign a paper refusing treatment if and when they get COVID, leave the beds for the people who want to be treated. That's an interesting point, and I said that too. When the outbreak first started in the United States, I said people should be allowed to continue on with their lives, understanding that treatment might not be available for them. Like if people, instead of giving out a global incentive or a stimulus check to everybody, let people who feel like they want to avoid COVID stay home and get the stimulus, and people who want to go out and risk it, go risk it, and then they just have to accept the risk. Sign their own little version of a 1306 saying that you accept the risk. I don't know. Kilo says, I was a little scared of the anthrax shot. I'll tell you guys a funny story about the anthrax shot sometime. Remember to remind me to tell you a funny story about the anthrax shot. And I see Denelson in the chat here. Denelson, is that you from IA? Is that who I'm looking at here? I want to make sure that that's you. So it was actually a funny time on that deployment with Boatwright when I got the anthrax vaccine. So Larry says, we had a barracks to live, but on duty days, we slept in one berthing area where whatever racks were available. Sharing racks is not what you want to do. Ooh, that sounds rough, dude. That sounds rough. Vin, even if they make it mandatory, I'm not going to get the vaccine. I would think about that one, dude. Is it worth your career? Larry says, I got so many shots on my 2 meds. I can't remember what I got. I swear one was for the plague. Well, hey, if they have a cure for that, that's all good. Justin says, we set the old record on the bottom of shard, but the helos let us get away. Yeah, so at least you got to go fly on the bird. At least you got to go fly on the bird. What was the record, by the way? How many days? Vin says, I think they will put unvaccinated sailors on the ship. Well, the thing will become that once it's FDA approved, they're going to be giving it to you in boot camp. Guarantee that. Regal says, I had a really bad reaction to the flu shot. 105 fever, delirium, you name it, never again. Oh, okay. So maybe if you have a reaction, I get that. If you have a reaction to the flu and it ends up being worse than the flu shot and ends up being worse than the flu, I totally get that. Vin says the COVID shot will be safe as Agent Orange. Well, no comment. I think it's going to be fine. That's my comment, I guess. I guess I did have a comment. So, Jones, what's up, dude? Nice to see you in here. Thank you for dropping a comment to let me know you're here. So, I love when I get to call out some drunk Marines on Okinawa because, like I've said before in the past, the Okinawan people are so nice. They're so kind. They're so cool. They cater to us Americans. They make our lives so easy. They have translators out there. They bend over backwards trying to make our Japanese experience better than we deserve. So when people go out there messing with the Okinawans, messing with them, stealing from them, hurting them, assaulting them, I got to call that out. And that's what we got right here. That's what we got right here. We've got U.S. Marine in Okinawa arrested on suspicion of kicking in taxi door. This story has a twist, by the way. A U.S. Marine sergeant was arrested here on February 16th on suspicion of kicking and breaking a taxi door on the Okinawan capital's main commercial thoroughfare. Sergeant Joseph Michael Seiko, stationed at the U.S. Marine Corps Air Station Futenma, which is about 15 minutes south of where I live, in the city of Ginawan, which I really like to go there for shopping, was apparently extremely inebriated, which is how all of these stories start, at the time of his arrest and is reportedly denying the accusation. Just because you don't remember it doesn't mean it didn't happen, Seiko. But, hey, innocent until proven guilty, just like in the United States. In fact, he'll probably get turned over to the United States and face some UCMJ if he did do it. Seiko is specifically accused of kicking and breaking the front passenger side door of a taxi stopped on Naha's Kokusai Dori Avenue at 4:45 in the morning. Now, a couple things about that. Being drunk on Kokusai Street right now during COVID is already breaking policy. So he's already in trouble with the military. We can forget for a second whether or not he even did what he's accused of. He's going to be in big trouble for that. So, and I don't think anybody's denying that. He allegedly fled the scene, but it was found and taken into custody on the street by a police officer on patrol in the neighborhood. The incident comes after the February 11th arrest of Marine Private First Class Marvin Earl James, based at the U.S. Marines Camp Courtney, which is north of me, in the prefectural city of Aruma, for allegedly indecently assaulting a local woman in a parking lot on her way home early on January 31st. James is also thought to have been drunk at the time. Shocker. On February 12th, Okinawa Prefecture handed a letter of protest from Governor Denny Tamaki to Neil Owens, Director of Marine Corps Installation Pacific Government and External Affairs, saying that the Marine Corps lacks sufficient training and management systems. Owens apologized and said the Marine Corps will strive for the enforcement of strict discipline. Right now, the Okinawan government is pushing back hard on the U.S. military and the kind of disciplinary violations that we've been doing out here in the last couple months. So there's been a lot of government pushback between COVID and between law enforcement issues. There's been a lot of pushback from the Japanese government on Americans out here. Now, if I switch my tab over here to Marine suspected of shoving Okinawan police officer has been arrested again. So what's the twist here? An Okinawa-based Marine accused of shoving a Japanese police officer last month has been arrested again on suspicion of indecent assault. So Marvin Earl James, a transmission systems operator with 3rd Marine Division at Camp Courtney, was initially taken into custody on January 31st on suspicion of interfering with public duties. He was still at Naha Police Station Thursday when he was formally arrested again on a related matter. A police spokesman Friday said James forcibly tried to kiss a woman in a parking lot at 5 a.m. on January 31st. Have you noticed that it's the guys who've been out all night? Have you ever been out partying all night long? Have you ever been out partying all night long until the sun comes out and all you want to do is go home and sleep and you're like, what is even going on right now? What is even happening? How am I going to get home? I have a 2-hour drive ahead of me from Naha to Courtney. Screw that. I'm in a bad mood now. Why did I party all night? That's not good. And I'm broke. And it's not payday. So when this woman threatened to call the police, James fled. James was approached an hour later by a responding police officer who said James, walking alone in the Kumoji area of Naha, looked suspicious. The officer attempted to question James, who had been drinking, and James shoved him. Police at the time said James denied shoving the officer, but that's what he's accused of. And then he's going to end up being charged with both of those charges, and he could face up to 3 years in prison with or without hard labor, up to $5,000 in fine. And the indecent assault brings 6 months to 10 years in prison with hard labor. You do not want to be in a hard labor camp out here in Okinawa, I'll tell you that. And First Lieutenant Timothy Hayes wrote an email to Stars and Stripes. We take every instance of misconduct seriously. These actions undermine the core values of the Marine Corps and are not tolerated on or off duty. The command will address any substantiated misconduct at the appropriate judicial or administrative level. So that's just basically not good. Not good for these Marines. Not good to be down in Naha. So if you guys don't know, and if you haven't caught on by now, Naha at the south end of Okinawa is the party city. Guys go down there, they get drunk, they party up all night. There's all kinds of bars and clubs that they can go to. Not only is it like party city where a lot of stuff goes down, it's really far away from even the next closest Navy base. So even though Okinawa is only about 70 miles long north to south, it takes 3 or 4 hours to travel the island because of the traffic and the speed limits out here and the roads you have to go. They're very curvy. So they don't just go, they basically do, a lot of them go up the coast, but it's not just a straight shot, obviously, and there's a lot of traffic and lines. So getting anywhere takes a long time. So that might be a big factor on why you see so many incidences with cabs, because the cabs aren't going to want to drive 3 hours one way to go up to Hanson or Courtney or something like that to drop these Marines off from Naha. They don't like that. They kick the door. They're drunk. They run away. They assault a police officer. They try to kiss a girl. All kinds of crazy military guy stuff that is just not flying out here in Okinawa, Japan. So a lot of people are starting to pay the price, and the government of Okinawa is not liking that either. So it's interesting stuff. What do we got going on here in the chat? Justin says, 128 days. It was bogus because we were supposed to get 2 beer days and only got 1. 128 days at sea is long. On our deployment, on that Westpac, we were doing the surge in 2007. I think we went like 64 days or something like that. Is that right? 64 days along those lines when we steamed right out to the Gulf in the beginning of that deployment. Vin says, I bet Bill Gates is behind COVID. That is a I have to stop responding to Vin's comments because the words that are coming out of my mouth reading his comments are going to get my video banned by YouTube just on their voice detection. So Vin, I'm going to just stop reading your comments out loud because they would be bad sound bites to be used against me in the future, and then they're going to get my video blocked by YouTube and get the stream ended. Larry says, I'm just kidding. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Larry says, I bet alcohol was involved with this, Jarhead. 100%. Vin says, I'm reading it in my mind first. Larry says, Captain's Mast, usually a parade of your command's biggest drinkers. Do you guys remember in the Navy, you would stop in a port, and then the day after when the ship steams back out, and you've got that 80-person Captain's Mast happening in the hangar, and then when they do their musters for people on restriction, it's like quadrupled after every port call? Oh, the Navy. Sea Wilder says, fond memories. Sadly, it now takes me all night to do what I used to do all night. Yep, it's those days are far behind me as well. Those days of partying it up in the club are far behind me as well. We've got a couple. We're gonna end today. This is not our last story, but we do have some videos to watch coming up in our next story. This story, for any Navy special warfare people out there, and if you don't know a lot about naval special warfare, if you don't know a lot about it, all naval special warfare members go for SEALs go to BUDS, and then they go to SQT. So if you graduate BUDS, you go to SQT, SEAL Qualification Training, and there's a series of classes that you go to during that. One of those classes is cold weather, right? So you do cold weather training in Kodiak, Alaska. And I'm very lucky. I've been to that base in Kodiak, Alaska. I've actually been here. And I went up to Kodiak, Alaska, and I got to go do a little week up there and see the facilities. Beautiful up there. Totally beautiful. It's right on the water. Alaska's amazing. Have you guys ever been to Alaska? Alaska's amazing. Got to go into Anchorage when I flew in the airport, and then got to go, then I got to go around to we left the airport and went to a bar while we waited for our flight because we had a long layover. So we went and saw a bar in Anchorage, Alaska. Then we flew to Kodiak. We were in Kodiak for a while. We're hanging out. We traveled around the island, saw the Coast Guard base up there where they do a lot of rescue operations. You guys, is that where the movie The Guardian takes place? Is up in Alaska? I think that's right. Is that right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Beautiful up there. Just totally loved it. By the way, food in Alaska, shockingly expensive. If you have to go up to Alaska, especially like the Kodiak area, if you wanted a cheeseburger, just an average cheeseburger, maybe even not so good of a cheeseburger, $25, $30. A steak, $50. Even some Alaskan salmon, $40. Crazy, out of control, expensive to buy food up there. Now, long story short, there's Navy SEALs up there in Kodiak, Alaska. They do their cold weather training. There's a permanent, party up there that lives up there, and they do this training, and they maintain the base and all this stuff. And what I have here is a crazy story out of Kodiak. A crazy story out of Kodiak. Family seeks answers to fatal shooting on Alaska training base used by Navy SEALs. And what you have here is a picture. This is right next to the compound. They can go, there's this like berm that goes right into the water, and this is it. This is what it looks like. This is definitely Kodiak. The caption of this picture, which we have some guys in green camis, some Solomon boots, Protec helmets, and weapons, or those might just be shapes, and they're doing some rappelling off of a very short little ridge here. So the Navy Secretary Ray Mabus observes training at Naval Special Warfare Center Detachment Kodiak, Alaska in 2013. A photo here shows some guys training. The family of an Alaska man who was fatally shot at a Navy training base say they're still seeking answers months after his death. So I don't even know if we covered this story. I don't remember if we covered this story or not when it happened on the show. I don't know if we covered this or not when it happened on this show. Jason Vinberg was killed by a Naval Special Warfare guard at the Naval Special Warfare Detachment Kodiak on June 30th. KTOO-FM reported on Sunday. Vinberg, 30, entered the base at the end of a wooded peninsula late that night. So there's a perimeter to this base, but you could swim right up to it. You could walk around the gate. You could definitely trespass onto this base. I don't doubt that at all. A military statement said Vinberg tried to enter a building before he was confronted by a Naval Special Warfare member. So here it says so up here it says a Naval Special Warfare guard, and then down here it says a Naval Special Warfare member, and events led to the service member using deadly force. Alaska State Troopers said Vinberg was tapping on windows with a knife. That's kind of creepy. Vinberg was tapping on windows of the building with a knife. Vinberg's stepmother, Esther Furio, said troops reported that her son challenged a guard before he was shot. The family said they don't know what he would have been doing there with a knife. He was very nonviolent, she said. He's never been aggressive or anything like that. It's just totally out of character for Jason. The base, known locally as the SEAL Base, is a training site for the U.S. Navy's elite commandos. The NCIS service said it won't comment while it investigates. A state medical examiner's report remains sealed pending the outcome of the investigation. Vinberg was not carrying a wallet or identification. His family learned of his death nearly 24 hours later in a call from Vinberg's wife of 12 years in Utah. So his wife was in Utah. He has his son's name tattooed on his forearm, and that's how they finally identified him. Vinberg's death certificate said he was shot an unspecified number of times in the arms and torso. Probably shot a bunch of times, to be totally honest with you. If this is an NSW guy, Naval Special Warfare guy, getting attacked with a knife, he would have put him down with a bunch of shots. That's the real talk right there. The certificate and his cremated remains are the only items his family received. His personal effects, including the knife he's been accused of brandishing, have not been released. Well, yeah, that's evidence. That makes sense. There's nothing really surprising there. Tony Furio, Vinberg's father, questioned whether his son's Alaska native appearance could have been a factor in the shooting. His mother is Alutiiq, native to Alaska. Is Inuit, or is that right? Inuit? Now, I don't want to be disrespectful. I want to get it right. So what the father's insinuating is that his son might have been shot because he looked native to Alaska. I don't know about that. I think that Jason's family is asking fair questions about how their son was killed, why deadly force was used, said Alex Claiborne, legal and policy director of the Alaska Native Justice Center in Anchorage. The family asked Claiborne to look into the case. He said the shooting happened on a military base, maybe slowing the investigation. I think that what is challenging is how long it's taking for the families to get answers, Claiborne said. Look, guys, Alaska's America. Shocker, spoiler alert, Alaska's the United States of America. There's a Navy base up there. There was a trespasser on the base with a knife. I don't think those facts are disputed. So if when that person was confronted by a guard of the base with a knife, if that person challenges the guard, deadly force would be totally authorized. From what I'm reading here, I'm not seeing a conclusion that would lead me to believe that this was like somehow unjust. Was he abusing some kind of substance at the time, something like that? I don't know about that. But whatever it is, that base up there is small. It has a small number of people up there as a permanent party, Det Kodiak, and there's guards on that base. It's military property. You can't trespass on it. If people, we've covered other stories of people trying to get on military bases and getting shot. I've covered stories of people trying to get off military bases and getting shot, stealing a car, charging a gate. So, I don't know what to think about this. This is very crazy. I feel bad for the person who had to shoot him. I feel bad for the person who walks outside at Kodiak and there's a guy standing there with a knife in their face. I mean, what are you going to do, I guess, at night in Alaska? I don't know. What do you guys think? Does anything about this story strike you as suspicious, or does this sound like the right thing ended up happening? Tragic as it is, was it the right action that probably happened? If you got challenged with a knife, what is general, all right, Navy trivia time. What is Navy General Order number 11? To be especially watchful at night and during the time for challenging, to challenge all persons on or near my post and to allow no one to pass without proper authority. Is that right? Did I just get that? If that's right, let me know in the comments. I'll break my goddamn Blue Jackets manual out right now. I got it sitting right behind me. So I'm pretty sure I got that. I'm pretty sure that's the 11th General Order. To be especially watchful at night, during the time for challenging, to challenge all persons on or near my post to allow no one to pass without proper authority. That just sounds like general order stuff right there. General order stuff. The execution of his duties as a guard. I don't know. Let me know in the chat. Am I right or wrong? Is that the 11th General Order? Are you impressed that I know it? Are you impressed that I know that? I haven't even been in the Navy for 3 years, 4 years, 3.5 years, something like that. That's Chief Select talking right there. Look out. Get your general orders right, boys and girls. I don't know if there's any girls watching today. I haven't seen any in the chat, but just get them right. Just get your general orders right. That's all I'm saying. If you're coming at me with some Navy trivia, you better be on point, because I got mine on point. All right, let me catch up with the chat here real quick. So I got to go all the way up to Dave says, after the Philippines, we had 94 people report for Captain's Fast. I totally get that. Mosquitoes the size of bald eagles, Seawater says. Larry D says, long times outside of sick bay as well for the guys with doses of the clap. Oh, yeah, no doubt. Let's see. I joined the Navy in 2004, if anybody's curious. I was born in 1985. Nikki, what's up? Here we go. Say congrats to Max. Thank you, Nikki, very much. It's great to be at over 1,000 subs at this point. Nikki in the chat. Max is going to the next level. The GOAT of the Navy is in the house. He means Nikki. Robert says, love you guys. I'm stuck in a Zoom pitch competition. Oh, well, hey, dude, congratulations. I can't wait to catch up with you on how your business is doing, and I can't wait to share that with the ScuttleButt Show guests here. If you guys have a chance to go check out old episodes of the ScuttleButt Show, including on YouTube, go back a couple years ago on YouTube and look at Exist Technologies and episodes with Robert Sweetman, and check out those and see all the great stuff he's doing to help veterans with sleep. Nikki says, nah, Max he has done more for the Navy than me. I don't know about that, Nikki. You're the GOAT of Navy YouTubers. That's what I think. Nikki says, look, guys, Alaska is America, as a quote from me. Thank you. Yes, that's going in the quote book. Look, guys, Alaska is America. Hooyah, MA2 Coburn. Who's that? Let me know. Max went back. I'll take you guys back to boot camp anytime. That was the most booter thing I've ever said. Hey, well, you know what? Get ready, because I'm always ready to go back. I got my general orders, my sailor's creed. You name it. I'm ready to go. I can tie my neckerchief. I can fold my pants. Whatever it is, you let me know. So, all right. So let's get on to the last story here. Wait, no, 2. I got 2 more stories. Are you kidding me? One's going to be quick. One's quick. I totally forgot about this one. But we got 2 stories. They're both out of the Marine Corps. And the first one is in another shocker, in another total shocker. The Marine Times reports that the Marine Corps leads all military services in hazing numbers by far. The Marine Corps leads all military services in hazing by far. I don't think that anybody's going to be stunned by that news. I hope you all were sitting down. I hope you all were sitting down for that one. The Marine Corps leads the way, at least in terms of hazing. In 2018, a report found that 256 out of 291 hazing complaints came from the Marine Corps. That's like 85%, while 91 of the 102 substantiated hazing incidents belong to the Marine Corps. So let's see. Out of 256, out of 291, 91 of 102 ended up being substantiated, which is about 30%. So about 30% of hazing complaints were substantiated hazing incidents. The Navy was second with 17 total complaints and 10 substantiated complaints. So the Department of the Navy rings in, wait, this math doesn't make sense. Oh, 10 substantiated complaints. Yeah, the math here doesn't add up. Oh, none were substantiated. Air Force had 5 complaints. Okay, it does. Okay. Out of 102 substantiated complaints, 101 belong to the Department of the Navy. So, am I proud of that? How do I feel about that? I guess I feel pretty good about it. So, the Navy was second. So, there we go. Navy was second. The Marine Corps data showed in 2019, complaints dropped to 188. That's like down 40%, while substantiated incidents were down at 47. So, yeah, about 40%. Neither military.com nor the Marine Corps Times has yet received hazing numbers for the rest of the Department of Defense in 2019 as requested. Marine Corps Times is still waiting on a 2018 report from the Pentagon. So, and then, of course, General Jason Woodworth put out a statement saying that there's no place for hazing in the Marine Corps. But is that true? Is that really true? Hazing has, unpopular opinion here, unpolitically correct opinion here, hazing has a place, serves a purpose. Hazing can be done correctly. Hazing can be done incorrectly. Hazing done correctly can be great for team building. Hazing done incorrectly can lead to the deaths of military members, including the really inappropriate hazing that we covered a couple weeks ago for that Islamic recruit on the East Coast at Parris Island who jumped down the staircase after being hazed and basically tortured for being Muslim and ended up killing himself. So I do not support that, just to be totally clear. But you get a new guy at a command, you give him a little gruff, a new guy or girl, and you give him a little gruff, shake out the riffraff, that little razzle-dazzle, to get them to know that they need to, look up to their elders and do a good job and expect that if they don't do a good job, they're going to get their butts kicked a little bit. Do I think that's really bad? I don't think so. You guys let me know. Am I way off on that? Let me know in the chat. Cool news out of the Marine Corps here. Cool news out of the Marine Corps, and this is our final story. Hey, let me check the chat here real quick. MA2 Coburn was the chick that dropped the civilian that rammed the... Oh, that's right. We did cover that on the show. We covered that in the ScuttleButt Show. Yes, totally. Does tacking somebody's crow on their shoulder count? That is 100% hazing, and it's 100% outlawed by the Navy, although I think it's still an applicable thing that should be happening. Makes me sad. The softening of the Navy. So, the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps' new battle wagon is a better tank killer than the service's tanks, General says. So look at this. This is the brand new Marine. It's not brand new, but it's the going into service, the Marine Corps' new Humvee replacement, Mat V replacement, RG replacement, all these vehicles kind of rolled into one light combat vehicle. So the Marine Corps is in the process of ditching its tanks and retools towards dealing with the peer threats in the Pacific, but that doesn't mean the service's anti-armor capabilities are falling by the wayside. According to Lieutenant General Eric Smith, the Deputy Commandant for Combat Development and Integration, the service's brand new Joint Light Tactical Vehicle outfitted with lightweight mounted fires is capable of killing armor at between 15 and 20 times the range of an M1 Abrams battle tank, which is pretty interesting now. We can kill armor formations at longer ranges using additional and other resources without incurring a 74-ton challenge trying to get them to a shore or to get it from the United States into the fight, because that just takes too long. So the Jltv, the Joint Light Tactical Vehicle, is the Marine Corps' new vehicle outfitted with a bunch of different weapons that are going to be used to take out up-armored vehicles, travel from point A to point B. They can be deployed in a hurry. They'll be good for island hopping in the Pacific if that ever happens. We need an army with lots of tanks. We don't need a Marine Corps with lots of tanks, Berger says. Berger, who's famously retooling the entire Marine Corps to be more prepared, smaller, lighter, faster to deploy to a peer threat and deal with that in the Pacific. The Marine Corps fielded the first test of its new JLTVs at the School of Infantry West at Camp Pendleton nearly 2 years ago and reached initial operational capability with the new battle wagon just a few months later, nearly a year ahead of schedule. Now, if you can't tell how big this thing is, because I couldn't, it's pretty big. It's somewhere between a Humvee and a Mat V. If you guys know what a Mat V is, And if you know what a Humvee is, it's somewhere between those two things. And we're going to watch a video about it here in a second. Last April, the service invited the defense industry to submit ideas for transforming its heavy weapons-mounted JLTVs into mobile air defense systems for tracking and killing enemy drones, helicopters, and fighters with the VMADIS Mattis, named, I don't know if it's named after General Mattis, but it's the VMATIS Mark I weapon system. And the following September, the service announced plans to load up the vehicles with the XM91 14 Echo 1 30, that's easy to say, 30mm cannon to track and destroy enemy drones and aircraft. And they're also putting on Stinger missiles. So they're also putting on Stinger missiles, and that's one of the ways that they're going to be able to combat so many different enemies with the 30mm cannon and Stinger missiles. It's unclear what lightweight mounted fires the service is pursuing with regards to the JLTV, but it's indicated that those fresh capabilities likely won't be limited to killing armor. They'll probably be able to kill anything. These vehicles are killing machines, just like the Marine Corps is. That is sea denial. So they can use these vehicles to include ground-based anti-ship missiles that the Marines could use to push enemies back hundreds of miles from a contested piece of land. That's insane. Think about that. This truck is going to have ground-based anti-ship missiles that the Marines could use to push enemies back hundreds of miles. That is badass. That's what I'm talking about. That is sea denial, and that supports our naval partners, fleet commanders, and distributed maritime operations. So what is this thing? Like, let's do this. What do you guys think about this? You want to take a look at this thing? You want to take a look at this vehicle in action with me? I've got a video pulled up right here. We're going to switch over to do a reaction video to the Jltv and see what this thing is all about. Let's check this out. The Jltv in action. Let's go.
The Jltv, Joint Light Tactical Vehicle, it's an Army-led joint acquisition program with the Marine Corps, and the significance is derived from the notion that it's going to close the critical capabilities gaps that exist within our light tactical fleet. The Jltv has several capabilities. All right, hold on real quick. So you can kind of see how big these things are here. So you can see this guy on the right side of your screen. You can see this Marine standing in the back here. He's standing up, and he's only going about, maybe a little more than halfway to the top of this thing. So it's not a small vehicle. It's definitely a lot bigger than a Humvee, but a MATV is huge. And this is probably not as big as a MATV. I'm not thinking it's as big as a MATV, but it's definitely bigger than a Humvee. So it's somewhere in the middle there. I can't really see what the bottom of this thing looks like and what its counter IED capabilities are like, but I'm just going to assume it's, well, maybe I shouldn't assume, but I would like to assume that it's pretty capable of dealing with some landmine IED type threats. The Jltv has several capabilities. It's off-road mobility, it's enhanced protection, and it's sheer power. It's only going to help our warfighters excel in combat.
Can we talk about the student driver sign really quick? I know that that's like legit because they're doing training, but how funny is that? The student driver sign. Get out of the way of this giant, however many ton vehicle with machine guns and rockets on it, because the person driving it is an idiot. No, they're not an idiot. They're just untrained.
Excel in combat. The main focus of today's training was off-road operations. It makes the Marines more familiar with the vehicles, so that way they can be more confident knowing that these vehicles can operate in several types of terrain.
Look at that turn radius. Look at that turn radius. That's what I'm talking about. Turns on a dime for those narrow roads. Those narrow roads.
I learned how smooth and how far it can really push itself, Bellows itself isn't really that difficult itself in an off-road scenario. I know it can go a lot further just because the way that the instructors were describing the San Diego terrains, but these vehicles took it easily. No.
Damn, this poor guy, man. This poor guy. Corporal Eric Callejas. They're like, hey, Corporal, could you come over here and just talk about this vehicle real quick? And he's like, yeah, I can do that. And they're like, tell us a little bit about what you learned in class today. Shit. I, in class today, learned this vehicle can go far, and San Diego has it. Shit, man.
Itself, Bellows itself isn't really that.
Somebody I think there's somebody that's ringing my doorbell. I don't know what that is. I have to ignore that, I guess.
In an off-road scenario, I know it can go a lot further just because the way that the instructors were describing the San Diego terrains, but these vehicles took it easily. No problem whatsoever. So the way you can apply all this knowledge is just you learn its potential, you learn its limits, maximums. That way when you do come to that moment, You know how far you can push it without, double thinking about it.
One thing I love about the military vehicles, if you've ever been in one, a modern one, everything is a button. There's very few levers. Everything is just like its own button. When you shift, you just press the D for drive, the R for reverse. You just press a button. Everything is a button. I love that. My dog is going crazy.
When you
Sorry
do come
about
to
that.
that moment, you know how far you can push it without, double thinking about it.
The mission of 3rd Marine Regiment Motor T is to provide mobility and transportation in support of our battalions and to maintain the highest state of readiness for all motor transport assets to ensure that we are ready to fight tonight.
Ready to fight tonight. My dog is going bananas right now because somebody rang the doorbell outside. All right, so that's the Jltv. Let me know what you guys think about that. And then, like I was saying, they've outfitted this thing with Stinger missiles. Like, this thing's going to have a bunch of Stinger missiles on board to target drones, as well as that 30mm cannon. But just for anybody who doesn't know what a Stinger missile is, I thought I would pull another video up real quick. And I've got a little Stinger missile video here for you. So let's check this out really quick. And this is kind of a little bit fun. A little bit of fun we'll have checking this out. So this vehicle is going to be equipped with Stinger missiles. And here we go. We'll check those out. That was awesome. Have you ever, let me know in the chat if you've ever fired a Stinger missile. Another day at work, he said. That's awesome. Damn, what a life. What a life. This poor drone. Finally, my purpose. I have a mission. I am proudly going to go fly for the United States of America. What the hell was that? Ah! It's good to see him having a good time. Oh, what is that? Was that the drone? Had a little, like, recoverable part? I love just hearing him laugh. I love just hearing him laugh while they're firing the missiles. It really is the only way you can react when you just do something awesome like that. That is epic. I mean, I could just watch this. I could just watch those smoke trails fly out of this thing all day. I wish we had like a more close-up of the actual rocket hitting the target. And that's the end of this video here. So that was awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I certainly did. So let's see what's going on in the chat over here. Let's see. Rolling out of an LCAC and dodging incoming rounds with a sweet drift right and left. A pack of crayons is a last ditch. Yes, put the crayons in there. The Marines need that in their up-armored vehicles for sure. That's how they write on their maps. No Stingers, but I saw CIWS cut drones to pieces. Nice. Justice probably for the engine and fuel for the parachute. You're probably right, something like that. Because they don't want to put... But those things, I bet those things launch with such a little amount of fuel. They probably have that figured out. I never messed with them either. Looks fun. That does look like a lot of fun. I'll tell you guys what. One thing that I was really stupid about, really ignorant about when I was before I ever saw it for myself is I don't know why I had this idea in my head that rockets were slow. Like, do you guys maybe it's from video games. Like I'm just gonna be honest. I was totally ignorant. I had no idea. I don't know why I thought RPGs, recoilless shots, were slow. This is what I thought. They are super fast. They're like bullets. I mean, you saw it right there, right? These shoulder-mounted rockets, Laws, whatever your Carl G's, whatever it is, are like they're like bullets. They're fast. So I don't know if you guys don't know, and if you don't have to admit it because I'll take the hit. I'll be the one to admit the dumb stuff. I thought that rockets were slow. I realize how dumb that sounds. That's what I thought. I thought rockets were slow. Rockets are super freaking fast. So if that is good for you guys, if that's helpful for you guys at all, then now you know. Rockets are extraordinarily fast. RPGs, Laws, Carl G's, whatever you call them, hella fast. So, all right, guys, that's it for the show today. I hope you enjoyed those videos at the end here. We have a questionably scheduled show tomorrow. I am not sure if we're going to have a regularly scheduled show or a late show or an early show Friday morning for you guys instead of Thursday evening, something like that. I'll be posting to social medias soon with tomorrow's schedule once I have it totally dialed in on what that's going to look like. I appreciate you guys being here today. If you haven't already had a chance to check out the links in the description down below for Patreon, merch, donations, sharing the channel, all that stuff, the podcast, all that stuff, go ahead and check it out in the description down below. If you do become a patron for the elite membership of $10 a month, along with all the other benefits, I'll send you a free t-shirt on your second month. Pays for itself. As my YouTube partner program stuff starts to come to fruition, I'll be able to do more stuff on here on the channel, like make a community here on YouTube that we can all be a part of and stuff like that. And I'll be working on all those angles. Let me know what you guys want to see more of, what you want to see less of. As far as the show goes, tomorrow I will let you know what the schedule is. And I want to thank you guys for being here today. That was a super fun episode. Shout out to Tom Tran. It's his birthday right now. If you guys are going to watch his comedy tomorrow, I'm going to try to tune in. It'll be noon out here, my time for that. I'm going to try to get tickets and watch it. Let me know if you guys are going to get tickets and watch it. I'm curious. So with that being said, thank you in the chat. Love you guys. Love the ScuttleButt Show community that we're building here. I look forward to talking to you very soon. I'm out for now.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.